Hey guys, it's Christine, also known as Ivy Winter here. I'm going to do a quick recap of PAX East and some of the great games that I saw when I was there. So PAX East, for those who don't know, is a huge gaming convention created by the Penny Arcade comic strip creators who came up with the idea to have this convention that revolved solely around video games, and started off with PAX Prime in Seattle and it's expanded ever since. So I go to PAX East, which is up in Boston, and I wanted to talk a little bit about a lot of the games that I saw there that I thought really stand out, and just talk about things that we saw. The expo hall is the main draw, and there's a huge section that has all like the major publishers and developers: Nintendo, Sony, Bethesda, Blizzard. Twitch has their own like big booth area, just everyone you can think of, Square Enix, and all of that. But the part that always gets my attention is the indie section, because it's a lot of games that I've never heard of, that I get to try for the first time, or games that I've been following that are brand new IPs that I get to finally get my hands on. So I want to talk a little bit about that first. So the first game that I think was kind of a surprise hit to a lot of us was this game called Dead by Daylight. And it is a horror multiplayer game where there are 4 survivors and 1 killer, and it's very classic, people versus crazy killer, vibe of like old school horror movies. And the 4 survivors have to go into these procedurally generated maps, so you don't know where everything is. And you have to start these generators to get the, power flowing, open doors, and escape. And then there's 1 player who is the killer, and the killer that was available in the demo at the time was this trapper who's able to put down bear traps. And the killer obviously has to kill everybody, and they are taking people and putting them on meat hooks to sacrifice to like this weird otherly being. So that's their goal. The killer has a first-person point of view, and the survivors have a third-person point of view, which is a great advantage for them, since the killer's point of view is very narrow, and you can kind of use that to your advantage. But the killer has a lot of advantages. First of all, he moves way faster than survivors do. If you're both walking in a straight line with no obstacles, he would catch you easy. He also can visualize sound. So if you run, he will see red footprints where you ran, so he will know to follow that way. If you knock something over, you open a locker to hide in, whatever it may be, and it makes a sound, he sees like a visualization of like, oh, there's sound over there, we should go that way and check out who's over there. But the survivors have each other to work together to help each other off hooks, to heal each other, to work together on a single generator to make that go faster. And so there's the whole idea of like, am I a lone wolf? Do I survive alone? Do I try to escape alone and get all the points for that? Do I stay behind and help other people and more people escape so we get more points, but I'm risking my life then? I could possibly die. I mean, there's a lot of great choices to make in the game, and it's really cool to see a classic horror movie as like this multiplayer experience. And I think we all really, really liked it. And I think it was a bit of a surprise because we had never heard of this game before PAX, and now I'm kind of hyped about it. Another game that I was really excited was there that I had heard of before but didn't know was going to be at PAX is Thimbleweed Park. And Thimbleweed Park is created by the same creators who made Maniac Mansion and Day of the Tentacle back in the day. Games I grew up with as a kid, so I was very excited about this. It was kickstarted a couple of years ago and is finally aiming to be released either end of this year. I was told maybe beginning of next year. They're pushing for end of this year. And it is a point-and-click adventure, just like the old Maniac Mansions. And it's funny. It's like super humorous. There are Easter eggs about Maniac Mansion characters in it. It's just well written. And what was really cool is at the end, they actually gave away the mouse pads that we were playing on. So here we go. So what the mouse pad looks like. It's really cool. And I got to speak to one of the original creators of Maniac Mansion. Was a highlight personally for me because that game has a huge influence on my childhood and just gaming in general. And so that one looks really cool if you like an old school 80s feel of a game, except it's definitely updated. By no means is it like, on the same level as Maniac Mansion. It's definitely a lot better. If you like funny games and it's kind of a murder mystery, then it might be something that's up your alley. I also got to play We Happy Few, which a few people have probably heard of. It is being lauded as kind of like this Bioshock-inspired game. Sort of the same idea of this dystopian community. They take this drug called joy, which makes everybody happy and I guess very complacent. And your character goes off joy and becomes like the scourge of society because now you're this melancholy person, and they throw you away and you escape this jail, and that's kind of all you know with the setup of the demo. And it's a very brightly colored game. It's more on the Dishonored spectrum of like just how it's like bright and beautiful and not as dark and gritty as the first Bioshock. Maybe more Bioshock Infinite in style. And it was super fun. My only like problem was that there wasn't a tutorial when you started, and there's a lot of crafting involved, and so I died fairly quickly in the demo. I was hearing from some people I knew who also died very quickly because you didn't know you had to craft your healing, and then to craft that you needed items that you had to pick up that we didn't know to pick up. And so it was a little difficult, and it's all like the menu was real time, so as I was learning to craft and heal myself, I died like in the menus. And so I just feel like it is nothing against the game itself and the mechanics, it's more like for the demo, I just wish there was more of a setup. Otherwise I think it's really cool. I'm really looking forward to it coming out. I think it's supposed to be coming out this summer, I believe. The big themes that I was seeing this PAX in general with indie games was going back to old school like point and click, detective and noir games, and horror games. There's a lot of really cool horror games. There's one called Perception that I believe some of the art directors of Bioshock are working on. That was really interesting. It's about a girl who is blind going into this old house. We're not really sure why yet, but we see things through this perception of a blind person that's very different from a lot of the stuff that I've seen. There was another game called Knee Deep, which is already actually out on Steam. It's actually on sale, I believe, right now. And it is a noir game that is a play. You are pretty much characters in a play, and the view of the game is that you're on a stage in these scenes, and it's very dialogue heavy, and your dialogue influences the people around you, and the things that you say affect the storyline, and you move from one scene to another, and that's kind of how it's built out. It looks like a play with backdrops and everything. Super interesting. I actually just picked it up on Steam. Definitely want to play some of that. In that continuum of detective and point and click adventure, there was another great game there called Kathy Rain. Looks again very 90s point and click. You are this girl who goes to your grandfather's funeral, and you discovered that your grandfather disappeared for a while, came back to your grandmother, and when he arrived, he was in this like vegetative state. And so you speak to your grandmother about it, and you agree to investigate what might have happened. It seems like the game is going to allow you several different cases. I'm not sure if this is going to be the sole drive of the entire game, but definitely has that cool, like more 8-bit, 16-bit, shall I say, style. Kind of reminded me of like some of the older like Quest for Glory games from the 90s, like had a very like Sierra vibe. There was a game called Seven, The Days Long Gone, which is an isometric top-down game that kind of looked like Thief meets Baldur's Gate and was really pretty. Had this awesome design where you're in this town with a lot of multi-levels, like going up and down these different ramps and areas, and it was beautiful the way that it kind of you know, made that look and transitioned. And I got to play that for a little bit, and that was really cool and seemed right down my alley. And you play this thief who was thrown in a prison, and then you leave the prison, and all the prisoners are put into this one town where they have to work for the government. And it kind of goes on from there. You get these quests to like steal certain things for certain people, shady characters. Seem really cool. Unfortunately, they have no idea of a release date. It's just kind of in the works right now. But if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, I highly suggest checking out some of the footage and the website and all of that good stuff. The prettiest game at PAX was this game called Deliver Us the Moon. It was gorgeous. The premise is the world is dying, the earth is dying, and you need to go up onto the moon for something, they didn't tell us what, to basically save the world. And the government, well, the world basically decides that they don't want to do this, and so this group of rebels decide to do it. So you're the sole astronaut who goes up there to basically save Earth. It's like the idea of like, we've depleted all of our resources and we are just gonna self-implode. Humanity's kind of getting to the point where it can't exist anymore on Earth, so we need to do something to save it. And God, this game was just gorgeous. Like, it was just so pretty to look at and sounds very interesting. It's supposed to be 50 to 60 years in the future, so you get to visit moon bases, not only like US and Russia, but there's like, you know, a South American moon base, and you know, this idea that several different continents have been to the moon in this time span. So that sounds really interesting. And then, I mean, there were just so many other games I can name. I mean, it's overwhelming the amount of games that are just all around you, and it's impossible to touch on all of them and play all of them. But those are some of the games that I think were really standouts and super fun, and you guys might be interested in. There's a lot going on. Otherwise, a lot of VR. I got to play a bit of the PlayStation VR. You'll have to hear some more of my thoughts in my actual vlogs. I have plenty of footage that are going to be turned into a couple of full vlog videos, so you have to wait and see then. But thanks again for watching another video. Hopefully some of these games have interested you, and if there are other ones that you were interested in that you thought looked cool, whether you were there or following along on social media, please let me know in the comments below. If there's anything I can answer for you, maybe if there's a certain game you wanted to hear about, I can let you know if we played it or not, saw it or not, what our impressions were. You can also let me know in the comments below, or you can tweet me at IvyWinterYT. Thanks again, as always, for watching another video. Always appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Bye!